A Marine hunted by his past faces a ruthless criminal with a personal vendetta. As the clock ticks down,
wearing a suicide vest.
He must stop a deadly plot and save innocent lives. The movie begins with soldiers walking in the dark, trying to remain silent, with guns in hand. They saw that the target was on the other side of the road and communicated with each other. Suddenly, they were attacked, with firearms shooting at them, and they ran in to take cover and retaliate. Kyle Snowden, one of the soldiers, woke up from this nightmare in his house. His daughter, Angel, was looking at him. She showed him children on TV and asked if he could help, but he reminded her that it was his job. He then turned off the TV and told her they should have breakfast. They went to the kitchen and prayed before eating. During the prayer, Angel prayed for her mother to come home. In the countryside, Egan Reyes entered his house and lit a cigarette. He stood before a picture of his father and vowed that he would make him pay for it. He picked up his gun and shot at a picture of Sam Nielsen. At work, as Clove was working with Kyle, she received a call from Sunshine, asking if she wanted to go out for a birthday dinner. Clove told her she had a lot of work and went back to the table. Kyle then told her about a case of a little boy whose parents had disappeared and asked for her help. Meanwhile, Sparks was driving Nelson to a public appearance he had to attend. Sparks was worried about Nelson's safety during these appearances, but Nelson reassured him that nothing would happen, and with the election coming up, it was a wise thing to do, since his customers were his biggest voters. They drove to Kyle's house and found Angel outside. Nelson entered the house and saw Kyle smoking and drinking. He told Sparks to stay with Angel and went inside, asking what was happening and why Kyle had left Angel outside. Kyle, who was crying, asked why Nelson was there. Nelson mentioned that he knew Kyle hated him because he had married Kyle's mother, but Kyle's condition was very bad. Kyle then told him to get Sparks out because he had a gun. Nelson continued talking about the situation, mentioning that even though his wife had left him, Angel had also lost her mother, and he should think of Angel too. He added that Kyle's mother would be devastated to see him like this. Kyle got angry at the mention of his mother. Nelson suggested that Kyle find his purpose again to get better. Nelson left, expressing his concerns. Egan and the other two men packed their bags and got into the truck to start their journey. Kyle and Clove were driving to work. They went to a house where a father had left his son. The owner of the house was aggressive towards them and told them that the kid was holding a knife. The kid, Manny, was hiding under the table. They reassured him that they would protect him. Manny told them that his father had left him, instructing him to stay there until he came back. The owner of the house fought with Kyle due to his aggression, but they eventually left the house. Egan's friends, Shane and Terry, were going around messing with electronics. Terry got caught and ended up shooting the man who found him. As Clove and Kyle were driving with Manny, Clove asked what had happened to him. Manny started recounting his experiences from when he was a soldier. During a heated firefight, his best friend was shot and died in his arms. Manny then took cover behind a tree and managed to survive. They drove to Nelson's store and saw Egon outside. Clove recognized him as a kid Sunshine used to tutor, but didn't think much of it. They went inside and were greeted by Sunshine, who works as the manager there. While they were talking, Sunshine received a notification about someone stealing and ran to catch Mickey in the act. After Sunshine threatened her, Mickey showed her everything she had stolen. Back in the main room, Sam Nelson called for the employees to gather so he could make a speech. Meanwhile, Egon, Terry, and Shane put on bulletproof vests, grabbed their guns, and put on masks to attack Nelson. They drove directly to the store and started shooting. The three men shooting in the store. Kyle screamed for Clove to hide. Everyone ran as the store descended into chaos. Clove was shot in the chest, and Kyle attempted to help her. Sparks was trying to find a way to get Nelson, Angel, and his assistant out. Egan announced that Nelson was now his, and that if anyone attempted to escape, they would be caught. He then revealed that he was wearing a bomb vest and instructed Nelson to come out. Nelson told Sparks that he wasn't going to leave his employees behind. Sparks warned him to stay back, but Nelson insisted on going. Clove was getting weaker. Kyle started having flashbacks of his friend dying and promised not to let her die. Mickey ran away from Sunshine and sneaked back into the store, but screamed when she saw a body, attracting the attention of Egon and others. They went to where she was, and Manny ran away while they instructed Kyle to move. Egon confronted Nelson and instructed Sparks to get away. He grabbed Nelson, calling him Congressman, and told him he would now admit what he had done to Luther Reyes. Nelson, shocked, said that Luther had embezzled money from him. Egon began beating him, prompting Sparks to draw his gun. Nelson told Sparks to stop, fearing the explosion. Shane and Terry shot Sparks shortly after. Egan announced on record that in an hour, the place would explode unless a prosecutor brought charges against Nelson immediately. He then instructed the cameraman to give the recording to the police. Egan told Kyle, along with Angel and the other hostages, to get to the back. He recognized Kyle as Nelson's stepson. Kyle told him he had nothing to do with Nelson or his politics. Egan handed Kyle a paper to read and deliver to the police, then let Kyle and Angel go. Kyle took Angel to the back and told her to leave with a woman. He decided to stay behind to protect the others. Sunshine saw Kyle returning through the security cameras. When Kyle went back, he found that Clove had died. Angry, he vowed to avenge her death. One of the employees teamed up with Egan. Egan saw Rainey, Sunshine's wife, and stopped her. She claimed she didn't know where Sunshine was, but Egan knew she had been talking to her in the security office. He made Rainey stay there while the other hostages left. Egan then instructed the man who had joined him to search the area and kill anyone who tried to escape. On the TV, the footage that Egan recorded of Nelson admitting to framing Luther was shown. Egan then instructed Nelson's assistant to tie up Rainey. Meanwhile, in the warehouse, Egan's men saw Kyle and shot him. Kyle started having flashbacks of the previous battle. Sunshine saw this and asked the man what he was doing, talking to him through the radio. Using this distraction, Kyle attacked the man, but was unable to shoot him. He then picked up the radio and asked where Sunshine was. She told him that she and Mickey were in the security office and safe. Led by Sunshine, Kyle launched an attack on Shane. They fought, and Kyle stabbed Shane in the neck. Nelson's assistant gave Egan a radio, and they began hearing Sunshine's and Kyle's conversation. Kyle told Sunshine that Clove had died. Meanwhile, Manny sneaked back to where Egan and the hostages were. Kyle told Sunshine that Egan would blow the place up, and they needed to get everyone out. Sunshine replied that Egan wouldn't blow himself up because people planning to kill themselves don't steal jewelry and valuables. So he was lying about the bomb vest. Sunshine saw Egan approaching where Kyle was and instructed him to hide. Egan spotted him, but Kyle managed to escape. Egan and Terry searched everywhere for Kyle, but couldn't find him. The police cut the power to the store. Terry found Manny and brought him to Egan. Egan warned Manny not to run away again. Kyle went to the storeroom and saw Spark on the ground, weakened. As Kyle approached, Spark told him to kill Egan. Kyle hesitated, knowing he couldn't shoot anyone. Spark reminded him that whatever happened in Afghanistan shouldn't stop him from this. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Spark pointed out that there was one bullet in the gun and told Kyle to use it wisely. He then mentioned Nelson's love for Kyle before collapsing. Sunshine informed Kyle where Egan was heading, and Spark's words motivated Kyle to go. Egan found the man Kyle attacked and ordered him to bring Sunshine. Meanwhile, Kyle went to Sunshine and apologized for Clove. He asked where everyone was, and Sunshine told him the hostages and Manny were locked in the storeroom. Knowing that Egan was listening, Kyle tried to communicate, but Egan started playing music over the radio. Egan then threatened to blow the place up and demanded Sunshine in exchange for Rainey and Mandy. Kyle rejected the exchange, angering Egan. Manny cut the rope tying Rainey, and she attacked Egan with a knife. She then attempted to untie Nelson, but Egan attacked her. Manny managed to take Egan's gun and shoot him. Nelson took the gun, and as they were about to run, Egon grabbed Manny. Sunshine went to the storeroom and freed the hostages. Kyle spotted one of Egon's men from behind and threw a Molotov cocktail at him, burning him entirely. Sunshine and Rainey reunited, and when Kyle asked about Manny, he was told that Egon still had him. Determined, Kyle went back to rescue Manny and found Egon's mask on the table. Terry arrived and told Kyle that the boy was with Egon. Kyle tried to explain that Luther was the guilty one, but Terry insisted that since Nelson had exposed him, they needed revenge. Terry revealed that Luther was his uncle. Kyle launched an attack on Terry, and they started fighting. After a fierce struggle, Kyle managed to strangle Terry and kill him. Kyle told Sunshine that the attacker was Egon Reyes, Luther's son. He then heard Manny's voice and sneaked over to him. Egon saw Shane's body and got distracted, allowing Manny to escape. Nelson managed to crack the code to open the door and escaped with the hostages. Kyle found and confronted Egon, but Egon attacked him. At that moment, Sunshine arrived and tried to convince Egon to stop. Egon instructed her to go with him, but Rainey shot him from behind. One of Egon's men, half burned, then attacked Rainey, but Mickey arrived just in time and hit him. Egon gathered his strength and went after Manny, but Kyle intervened. After a fight, Kyle managed to shoot Egon in the head. They all ran out as the place exploded. Nelson tried to convince the police that it was a planned robbery and not an act of terrorism, but the bag Egon had left behind was full of empty cans. Mickey had stolen Nelson's money for herself and Sunshine. Kyle and Nelson reconciled and made plans to hang out someday. Kyle introduced Manny to Angel, and they got along well. Angel talked to Manny in Spanish, while Kyle looked at her amused. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.